Good morning, everybody. Well, actually 1 in the afternoon, so it's not really morning. But maybe it's morning where you are. I don't know. Who knows? All right, guys. So this is actually my third attempt at this video. I started recording this twice last night, but I had like my list. This is, by the way, I'm Adam. How are you? I had my list of movies, top 10 horror movies for the year. I'm doing something new. Me and Honor are going to do our top 10 movies overall tomorrow because we're off tomorrow, so we can do that. So I said a lot of ums already, but anyway, I started recording this, but I kept switching back and forth to look at my list and see what was next, and then every time I came back, I accidentally clicked the stop record button. And it was like, well, I have 18 minutes here and 5 minutes here. It's like I could sit here and edit this, or I could just be frustrated and give up. So I put them on my phone now, so I can just look at my phone and I don't have to mess with all that. So anyway, I hope you guys all had a good holiday season and Happy New Year as the new year winds down here in 2 more days here. So, yeah, we had a pretty good Christmas overall. We kind of just relaxed and watched a lot of movies, Christmas Vacation, the original Black Christmas, which I don't think I'd ever seen all the way through. It's really good. Yeah, we got a lot of fun things. I got a new razor, which I need to use soon. New Norelco. I got a book of Spider-Man comics that are like, it's all the original like 15 comics all put into one book. So it's super cool. And lots of clothes. This is a new shirt and new pants that I'm wearing, but you can't see my pants because I'm sitting down. But they're new. They're brand new. But yeah, so overall, pretty good holiday season overall. So anyway, I actually watched another movie last night that I added to this list. So I had to bump one up to honorable mentions. So there will be 4 honorable mentions on here instead of 3 that I originally had when I started the video. But I watched one on Amazon last night, which will be on this list. And I really liked it, so I had to bump one up to honorable mention. So, first time doing a top 10 horror movie list. So I should let you know that I've not seen Talk to Me. I haven't seen Thanksgiving. I had no interest in Saw X, or whatever the hell it was, Saw 11, 12, 13, 5,000, whatever. I was never that big into the Saw. I like the first couple Saw movies I watched in the theater, and then after that I just kind of lost interest. So I kind of like, my friend Josh is really into them, but they're kind of his guilty pleasure, I think. But I'm just, maybe I'll rent it at some point, but I'm not like gung-ho about it. So that will not be on the list because I haven't seen it, so I'm not going to rank it. If I haven't seen it, it's not going to be on this list. I try to see as many movies as I can, whether it's on the theater or on streaming, but sometimes, you just don't catch one before the year's out. So, cool. So let's get this list started and stop having me babble. But before I do, guys, I'm going to be one of those people that's like, here's our sponsor, but this is not a sponsor because we're not big enough to have sponsors yet. But I want to say, though, as a soda drinker, I recently tried this Olipop. They sell this at QFC, and Safeway has it as well. You might find it, if you're in a different part of the country, you might find it at Kroger's probably. But it's called Olipop. It's basically plant-based, prebiotics, plant fiber, and botanicals, and a couple other little fruit and vegetable ingredients in there. Now, I've tried many alternative pops to Pepsi and stuff like that, but I have not really, like, I tried kombucha a couple times. That fermented taste just didn't do it for me. I've tried ones where they had apple cider vinegar in it, and the vinegar just overpowered everything. It's like, that vinegary taste just isn't, but this one is actually pretty good. Like, this particular flavor, this is empty now. I drank this last night, but it's cherry vanilla, and it actually tastes very much like you're eating cherry pie. It's just like really good. There's also, they have vintage cola, they have root beer. I didn't like the root beer that much, but they have cherry cola, fruit punch, orange, strawberry vanilla. I haven't tried that one yet. They have lemon lime, ginger ale. So they all actually taste pretty good. Like, I was not expecting it to be good, but it's a nice alternative. So I'm not saying it's super healthy, but like, it's plant-based at least. So, try to balance out drinking Pepsi and all that. So yeah, check out Olipop if you're a soda drinker and they're looking for maybe something alternative, or at least mix it up a little bit. Yes, and that's all for that. Let's get on to the list. So, honorable mention number 1, looking right off my phone here, would be Infinity Pool. Now, I know a lot of people really like this film. I thought it was okay. It's good enough to be on an honorable mention because the film is well made. It's by Brandon Cronenberg, the son of David Cronenberg, who, of course, you know David Cronenberg from The Fly and Dead Ringers and Scanners, amongst other films. He also played an excellent serial killer in Nightbreed, which I love that movie. Have you ever seen Nightbreed? It's a Clive Barker film. That's not Hellraiser. It's really good. You should check it out. Especially the cut that they had on Netflix, which I think was the director's cut. It's really, really good. But like he played the serial killer in there, and it's just he's got this creepy ass mask, and it's fucking brilliant. But anyway, but this movie was kind of weird. It had that very Cronenberg-y style. Basically, Alexander Skarsgård is in it, and Mia Goth, who you of course remember from the Ty West movies. Upcoming Maxine in 2024. Looking forward to completing that trilogy because the other two were excellent. But Mia Goth is great and over the top in this. Maybe a little too over the top at times, but she's great. Alexander Skarsgård is a solid actor as well, along with his brother, brothers I guess, and his dad. Very good acting family, that Skarsgårds. But like he basically goes on vacation to this place, and then he like has this car accident, and then they like put him on trial, and then it's kind of a cloning thing. He gets cloned over and over again, and then there's a whole weird sexual energy going on during that clay. It's a weird, it's a very strange movie, but like they're like tormenting him a lot most of the time, and like basically bullying him a lot. It's a really weird, strange film. But it was good enough to be an honorable mention. It wasn't my favorite movie of the year. Like I didn't hate it. It wasn't like, oh, it was awful, I don't want to. But like I felt it at least deserved mention because if you like that kind of style that Cronenberg gives out, and I do like a lot of his dad's work. I haven't seen enough of his work, his other movies, but I've liked a lot of what David Cronenberg's out. But it's definitely very weird and very graphic-y, out there, kind of body horror-y type of stuff. So if you're into that, check it out. So that's my number one honorable mention. Number two honorable mention is It's a Wonderful Knife. This movie wasn't too bad. Justin Long plays the mayor, who I think if you've seen the trailer, I can probably give this spoiler away, but spoiler it anyway. He's the killer. And he wears this kind of white, almost snowman type mask. But it's almost like, it kind of reminds me, there's that movie from the 90s. I forget what it's called, but it's like, it's on a ski range and someone's getting killed. But it sort of had that mask kind of resembled that killer a little bit. I don't remember the name of that movie, weirdly. So he plays a killer, and it basically set up like It's a Wonderful Life, where it's like, oh, the main character says she wished she hadn't been born. And so, unfortunately, her doing that means that more people in the town got killed by this serial killer, and there's a whole, like, energy there over this. It also has Joel McHale as her dad, and Catherine Isabel, you might remember from the Ginger Snaps movies, and Freddy vs. Jason as well. She plays her aunt, and her other aunt, and then her brother, but anyway, so she's trying to correct everything that has gone wrong in this alternate universe type of thing. And there's this other girl that was kind of in the background that kind of like, she's kind of weird, outcasty or whatever, but she kind of helps her along and figures things out and figures out who the killer is and how to stop him and all this stuff. I thought it was pretty well done, taking that kind of It's a Wonderful Life story and having a slasher element to it. There was a lot of plot holes though, and I think that was what Anna had pointed out too, that there were a lot of issues with the plot holes and the writing. I didn't like the one aspect of it was that they kind of teased a relationship between her and the other girl, and it wasn't that I have a problem with that. It's just the way it was written. The acting was fine. They were playing it well. But I feel like the writing building up to it, because at the beginning she's got a boyfriend and there's not like any kind of hint that she's bisexual or anything like that, or pansexual or whatever you want to be. So it's like there's no hint at it at first in the writing, and then all of a sudden it just kind of feels like, well, yeah, we're together now. And it's just like, well, that's not how... so I don't know. It just felt like unnecessary. Like sometimes you can just be friends. So, and I'd say the same thing if it was a guy. You don't always have to have a relationship. You can just be friendly. And whatever happens after the movie's fine. But it just felt, the way it was written didn't feel like it was well written enough to do that. So there were some plot holes in it and stuff. But Justin Long is having a great time, and it's pretty fun. And I recognize the main girl because she was on Yellow Jackets as well. A lot of Yellow Jacket actors in these movies I've watched recently. A lot of horror movies. Interesting. But yeah, she's pretty good. Like I said, the acting is pretty solid, but the writing could use a little bit of work. But it's still worth a watch. It's a fun little thing to take that kind of other thing and add some horror stuff to it. The next one is VHS 85. Honorable mention number 3. We haven't even gotten to the top 10 yet. This one, if you've seen the VHS movies, it is an anthology series that started with the original VHS, which had, I think, about 8 stories in it. And then they kind of gradually went down to like usually 4 or 5, and then one kind of main overarching story. The first one was excellent and had a lot of great stories in it. The second one had some about a couple decent ones, but it only had about 4 stories, if I remember. And then Viral was a thing and was terrible and just awful. And then they came back with 94, and that was through Shudder and stuff like that, and that was pretty good. They had some good stories in that one. And then 99 had one good story, and the rest were kind of so-so. But this 85 was pretty good. There's even a story in there by Scott Derrickson, who you might remember from Black Phone or Sinister and the first Doctor Strange movie. And he directs the segment, and you can tell it has his style very much in it. But it's actually pretty good. So yeah, VHS 85. I watched that on Halloween, actually. It was pretty good. So check that out. I think it's still on Shudder. It might not be anymore. I don't know. Maybe it's gone. But look it up. I'm sure you'll find it. It's pretty decent. And the one I had to bump up to my honorable mention after the movie I watched last night, but I still really like this film. It's on Shudder. It's called Spoonful of Sugar. And the girl, she comes to be a babysitter or like a caregiver for this kind of this kid he's pretty much most of the movie kind of sort of a mute. Like, he doesn't speak a lot and stuff like that, but he also acts out very much. So I think it's sort of hinted that maybe he's autistic or something like that, but they don't really go into it too much. But I know he smacks his mom a lot and is very disrespectful to his mother and stuff like that. And she's very strange too. So the whole spoonful of sugar, she's constantly taking, like, I think it's heroin, or something, some kind of drug, but she's constantly like doing that, and it makes her very trippy and all that. But she thinks that she's kind of, as things go around, she's almost trying to replace the mother, and there's a whole thing with the dad, the usual babysitter dad thing. But there's a nice twist that happens at the end that I didn't see coming. I'm like, oh, that's why this was that and this. So it's pretty good. I recommend it, because I went into it thinking, this would probably be okay, but like, I actually really enjoyed it. I think the main girl is pretty good. The other actors are solid. So it's pretty decent for a Shudder movie. So check that one out. And that concludes my honorable mentions. So now we can get to the top 10. Woot! So number 10 is Bad Things. All right, so Bad Things was actually also on Shudder. A lot of stuff was on Shudder. I've seen most of the horror movies I've seen have been on Shudder mostly, or either Shudder or Amazon usually that I've caught them on. Like I said, I get out of the theater as much as I can, but there's like, I don't get to like every single horror movie that's in the theater just because, you gotta pick and choose, and money, gotta spend money for movies and stuff. So. But this movie is called Bad Things. The main star she was on Glow. She played the Wolf Girl. I don't remember the actress's name right now. I'm not going to go through a whole looking up thing right now. But she's good. I always liked her on the show and stuff. But basically it's set up, there's like essentially 2 couples, both same-sex couples. And but they have the kind of this dynamic. There's sort of a hint that one of them had an affair in the past, and there's a whole thing there. There's a whole dynamic there. I recognize the girl playing the girlfriend. She was also in the Barbie movie. And so that was cool. I was like, hey, cool. So there is very much a psycho element there, because it's also set in a hotel, not like the Overlook, but more like one of those really cheap, one of those really long ass motels like this. That's just one story kind of thing. And it does have Molly Ringwald in it. Who kind of plays up. She's the main character is kind of watching these little videos on her phone that are very much like self-help videos, almost like a life coach. Molly Ringwald, of course, is like dressed to the nines in this really pretty red dress, and her hair is like really long. So she's Mary Ringwald has always been a good actress, but like she's super attractive in this movie. My wife said the same thing. So it's like I'd say probably outside of her how she looked in The Stand, because I really liked her darker red hair in that, and the way it was cut and stuff. It's probably like the most gorgeous Molly Ringwald has looked. And she's always been a good looking gal, but like I'm just like, damn, you know. And she's in her 50s and she still looks great. But yeah, there's sort of like you get a lot of twists and turns about what's really going on and what's really going on in this motel and stuff like that. So it has very psycho influenced elements to it that I really enjoyed. So that is why it is my number 10. So check out Bad Things. It's a solid and a better written story with the relationships too. Like it feels like the story established. We're like, this is where we're at, boom, 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 as opposed to being like, and now they're together. You know, like there's been no build up to this. Now they're together. Just accept it. So anyway, next one, number 9. Number 9 is Knock at the Cabin, the most recent M. Night Shyamalan film, which has Dave Bautista in it. Dave Bautista, as well as who's really good in this movie too. He's very subdued. I give a lot of credit to Dave Bautista because, you know, a lot of times wrestlers that turn actors, they're just like, I'm a big muscle guy and this is my entire character. So it's nice that he really takes it seriously. And like I've liked him in a lot of things I've seen him in. But he's really subdued in this. He's kind of the leader of this group of 4 people, and they're here to basically tell this couple, played by Jonathan Groff is one of the couple. And they have a daughter. As well, him and his husband have a daughter, and he's basically saying one of them has to sacrifice their life to save the world, and they're showing them all these kind of tragic things that are happening across the country, across the world, like disasters and things like that, and wars and things like that. And so it's basically like a build-up of each one of them, and each one of the 4 horsemen gradually like takes their own life to like try to convince these people that they have to make the sacrifice. So it's a big build-up. I think it was based off a book as well. I think is what I've read. So it has a nice element, because sometimes the Shyamalan twists can be like, oh, that's a really stupid twist. But like this one I thought was pretty good. I think it maybe being based off a book helped, because at least it wasn't old. But no, it's just pretty good. I thought the acting was really good, and I thought everybody played their role well, and it was a nice story that had a nice build and a crescendo. So, Knock at the Cabin, check it out. I watched it on Amazon. It was solid watch. That is number 9. Number 8 is the movie I just watched last night, which is called Dark Harvest. Now, this movie just kind of fell under the radar a little bit. But I actually rented it on Amazon last night after I actually saw another person put it in their top 10, I believe. And I'm like, oh, I haven't gotten to see that. I still want to watch Talk to Me, but so that won't be on this list, but I'd like to watch that. But Dark Harvest, basically the story is set in the 60s, and basically it starts off with all these boys, and they're chasing this kind of monster thing. And I guess the thing is you have to stop this monster before he gets to the church by midnight, or else there'll be a huge storm that will ruin the crops and stuff like that. So that kind of story you've kind of seen before with the thing that you have to make the sacrifice to save the crops. But it has some nice twists and turns in it. But like the main guy who does it, you know, he's the brother. He's a big baseball player. He ends up killing the thing. He ends up like they eat. I guess what they do is they lock the boys in their bedroom for 3 days without food or water, and they kind of like get them all riled up. To like be able to kill this thing, but several of them get killed by this monster and all that. But it's sort of a scarecrow-y thing. Like it's got a pumpkin head. It's a little bit like the character from Trick or Treat, but like bigger, but kind of a scarecrow-y character. And yeah, so like the one brother gets it, and then because he saves and kills the thing, like he's given a Corvette, and he's said, "You get to go off and check out California and all that." And so we think that's where he's at. You haven't seen him for a year, so his brother is kind of like. I'd say he's kind of like a greaser. It's kind of like, it kind of reminds me of The Outsiders a little bit, because you have the greasers and then you have these jocks with their Velvet jackets that are being dicks to him and all that. And he meets this African-American girl, and, you know, it's the 60s, so, you know, their relationship is kind of like, you know, scorned by the white racist bastards. But anyway, so his whole goal is like, I'm gonna be like my brother. You know, I'm gonna kill this thing. But like they're like, no, you can't. As far as like, no, you cannot do this. That's not fair. Then they get a new house and all this just for killing this thing. But you start to see some twists and turns, and I won't spoil it for you how it ends and all that, but it's not everything is what it seems in terms of things. And there's a reason why that brother, you haven't seen him for a year. I'll just give you that. I gotta say, the guy who played the sheriff in it, like his voice as kind of the narration over it, great voice. Like he had a really good voice, and like his character was just like a total asshole, but like very entertaining. I guess he's on this Dr. Death show, and he's been in a couple other recent projects that I've probably seen him in, but he's pretty good. I like the actor. He's very good. Everybody was pretty solid. I liked all the actors in it. It's a solid thing, and they definitely set it up for potential sequel that I think would be interesting. But yeah, so check out Dark Harvest. You can rent it right now on Amazon for like $5.99. All right, that is number 8. Moving on to number 7, The Boogeyman. Stephen King's most recent movies, The Boogeyman, based off one of his short stories. I believe it's a short story. But yeah, it plays off on the Boogeyman thing a bit. It has, I forget who plays the dad, but like the actress playing the daughter, oldest daughter, it was in Yellow Jackets. No Yellow Jackets actor. I'm not, like I said, I'm not pulling up everybody's names just because I want to keep this video moving. If this was just a review for just this movie, then I would say, like, I think I did a Boogeyman review, I believe. Or possibly in my podcast, I might have mentioned it. But anyway, I mentioned the actors' names then. But anyway, she was on Yellow Jackets. The girl playing the younger daughter who's kind of being haunted by the Boogeyman played young Princess Leia in the Obi-Wan show, if anybody watched that. I liked that show myself. Some people didn't like it. I think it was pretty good. But yeah, it plays off. It very much reminded me of that Lights Out movie that was on a couple years ago. So there's similarities there, but it's pretty good. I like the use of the creature and all that. There's a nice build up to the final act and stuff like that. But yeah, I liked it a lot. So Boogeyman, number 7. All right, continuing on. We move on to number 6. Number 6 is another movie I saw on Shudder with Anna. The Angry Black Girl and Her Monster. Now, this is kind of a modern take off of the Frankenstein story, very Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. But this girl loses her brother. They live in, like, I guess we call the ghetto projects or something like that. And basically, but she's really into science and all that. And so he gets shot down, like, you know, by a gangbanger or something like that. And so, like, she pretty much tries to bring him back to life, very much like Frankenstein with a new brain and things like that. But he, of course, turns into this big monster, you know. And so it's pretty much just playing a story and all that. It has Chad L. Coleman, who played Tyrese on Walking Dead, for those of you who watch Walking Dead. He plays her dad. And also Forrest Whitaker's son is in there as well. And I thought the main girl was pretty good. I thought it was a solid story. It's funny, there's a moment with this teacher in there, and where she's kind of being a bit of a bitch, but the teacher's also being a bit of a bitch, so both of them are kind of in the wrong. But it very much reminded me of this comic book scene when Riri Williams was introduced, where she's telling the teacher to oppress her, and all this. It was very much reminiscent of that. I'm like, well, that's kind of familiar. But like, yeah, it's a weird thing. But the movie itself is solid. Solid take on the Frankenstein thing, but kind of set in a different format and modernized a little bit. But it's a pretty good movie. I definitely enjoyed it, and that's why it is my number 6. All right, number 5 would be Scream 6. I saw this with my friend Josh. He actually treated me, which was cool. Yeah, we had a great time with Scream 6. It was a solid follow-up. I think I liked it more than Scream 5, honestly. Which I didn't mind Scream 5 either, but like I definitely liked Scream 6 a bit more. Now, obviously, Sydney was not in this movie, for those of you who remember. Nev Campbell kind of got screwed over on the pay and all that, so she wasn't there. But as you know, with recent events, guys, with them losing their 2 stars and a director, who knows what's going to happen with the Scream franchise. Maybe they'll just scrap the whole thing for now and come back later when cooler heads have prevailed. And whatever you feel about what Melissa Barrera said or Jenna Ortega or whatever the case, you know, we don't know all the details. We don't know how things happen. It is what it is. But, you know, I personally think they should just, like, scrap it for now. You know, go back to the drawing board, see what you can do. Because unless you're going to do a story with Sydney, like, not having either of those girls in it, it would be kind of detrimental to the story. It feels kind of like that story's done now if they're not going to move on with it. So, which is too bad. I gave some ideas before they lost the director too, of what options they could take. That's another video on here. You can check that out. But yeah, I still liked it though. That's why it's my number 5. Had a great time in the theater, seeing it in the theater. So unfortunately, we probably won't be getting any more with them for a while, unless they just say fuck it. I personally think the people in charge of it, I think it's Spyglass. They just need to sell the rights. Be honest with you, just sell the rights, because you've botched it pretty badly. You've run off Nev Campbell before this, and now you've kicked out your 2 stars for this one. So okay, good luck with that. But the next one is number 4, Evil Dead Rise. Now some people were really like controversial with this movie, and I don't really know why. I mean, yes, of course, you have your people who are like, well, it doesn't have Ash in it, so fuck it. But you guys got to remember, like, Bruce Campbell's getting up there, and he even acknowledges, he's like, guys, I'm getting up there. There might be a place for his character somewhere in the story, but like, to me, I feel like it's kind of like with Cobra Kai now. Like, whatever they do with Karate Kid after Cobra Kai, that's fine. I may not watch it, I may watch it, whatever. But like, I feel like I've gotten this wonderful show that kind of redeemed them doing a terrible remake. And so, I feel like I'm satisfied that I've gotten to see these characters again and got introduced to new characters and stuff like that. So I think the same thing with like Ash and the Evil Dead. I feel like it was great that they brought Ash back for that, and we got to have a lot of fun with that show. So now it's like anything else they do with Evil Dead, I think it's fine. Like, carry on. And I thought this was good. There may have been a controversy because one of the actors in there is trans, and that's like, well, why is that a controversy? But just who cares? They're just living their life and being happy. Leave them alone. I thought they were good. But like, yeah, the family, it's basically about a family in a high rise, and this thing gets out. It got a great opening scene and a great closing scene. And yeah, the characters were in it. The woman who played the mother was like very good, and yeah, it's an Evil Dead movie, guys. It's pretty hard to truly screw up an Evil Dead movie, to be honest with you. You just follow the patterns, and you're pretty much good to go. So, Evil Dead Rise, guys, that is my number 4. So, moving right into the top 3. Top 3. All right, this one's next one is number 3 is Renfield. For those of you who haven't seen it, Renfield, of course, is the most recent movie. What recent? Well, it's a Universal movie. And I like what Universal's doing, because they started off with this dark universe that really didn't pan out. But now they're just kind of taking each individual story, not making a whole connected universe. They're just like, what if we did this? Like, they did a great job with the Invisible Man, and now they're kind of going different ways. So Renfield was another one, like taking on the Dracula thing, but with Renfield. Renfield played by Nicholas Hoult, who soon will be playing Lex Luthor, which is going to be awesome. And Nicolas Cage playing Dracula, which is amazing and entertaining as hell. And he gives his all, and both of them give their all. And it's a fun, it's a horror comedy. I think the only criticism I'd have is like the whole like hinted, was it Los Muertos or something like that? I forget. But like they were supposed to be a wolf family or something like that. I really wanted them to be werewolves, and they weren't. And then they were just crappy drug dealers, and I didn't care. Awkwafina's in this as well, but she's fine. She was doing some weird physical things with her character, but she plays a cop and kind of, I guess kind of love interest there. It's sort of hinted at, but no, I liked it. It's a great time. It's really there for Nicolas Cage and Nicholas Hoult, who just like have a blast. It's a great time. It's bloody. It's still a horror movie, so it's fun. Had a great time watching it. We watched it on streaming, and it was a lot of fun. So that is my number 3. All right. So, as I said at the beginning, and a lot of people saying these kind of things, if it's on my top 10 list or even with my honorable mentions, it means I enjoyed these movies. If it's not on my list, either they were not so great or I didn't like them at all. There definitely were a few on here. I'm like, yeah, I watched that, but I didn't really like it. What was that movie that I really didn't like? I guess it's not on here. Oh, Oregon Trail. That was terrible. That was just boring. But anyway, we won't talk about that. We're going to talk about my top 2. Number 2 is Cobweb. Now, a lot of people didn't like this film, but I actually thought it was pretty good. It actually has Anthony Starr and Lizzie Kaplan play parents, and they have a kid who they kind of, he keeps hearing knocking at his room, and they're like, oh no, you're just hearing things, you're fine, nothing wrong, when he keeps imagining all this horrific stuff. And Anthony Starr plays a great dad. He's just annoyed. And Lizzie Kaplan's very out there, and crazy. But you start to see kind of everything starts to unfold and all that, and it's kind of one of those kind of creature reveals where you realize you shouldn't have opened that wall there because you just let something really evil out. So it's a really good. It's very much kind of a dark fairy tale. The way it's told, and I like the actress playing the teacher as well. She was quite good. The kid's pretty good as well. So yeah, and the person that played the person in the wall was quite solid. So Cobweb, that was my number one horror movie, or my number two rather. Here's my number one, guys. Totally Killer. It's my number one of the year that I truly enjoyed. My friend Josh said he had problems with it in terms of how many tropes they used on the time travel. I thought that was part of the fun, honestly. This has Kieran Shipka, who you might remember from the Sabrina series that they did on Netflix, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. And she's quite good as our main character. There's also the actor who I mentioned in the Creepshow thing. He plays her dad. He was in Dead Man on Campus as well as Freddy vs. Jason and all that. He plays her dad, and I forget who plays her mom, but like there's a whole bunch of actors that you've seen and stuff, and then they, but basically it's a time travel movie with a killer wearing a Max Headroom mask, which is hilarious, and a lot of things of the 80s that were definitely very different than how things are now, in terms of you actually let this happen. And so there's a lot of good comedy in there, but a lot of good kills and some good horror elements and time travel things that they play with. So definitely I feel like this one was better in terms of It's a Wonderful Knife, where I feel like they didn't play enough with what they were going with, but so I really enjoyed this. It was probably my most fun I've had watching a horror movie this year. But like I said, it's 1 through 10. You could switch it up a little bit. I liked all these films, so that's why they're on a top 10 list, and why there's some honorable mentions, because I enjoyed them, and that's what most matters, guys. Whether it's a horror movie or a regular movie, did you enjoy watching it? Because if you didn't enjoy watching it, it's not going to be on your top 10 list, right? Unless you're doing a worse list, Because if you don't enjoy it, then to me, at the end of the day, movies are entertainment, TV shows are entertainment, plays are entertainment, sketch comedy is entertainment, improv, whatever the case. If you're not enjoying it, then don't watch it. That's fine. Watch something else. But yeah, so that would be my top 10 horror movies of 2023, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this list. Let me know what your guys' favorite were in the comments below, and like and subscribe. Let's keep building those subscribers up. We're at 36 right now. I would love to get to 50 in the next year, and keep building on that. My other channel is at 131 right now, which is Adam and Anna. We do sketches over there. We take a little break for the holidays just because we, getting our creative minds right. I had some ideas for today, but I couldn't. It wasn't really filling it. So, cool, guys. Thanks for watching, and we will be back tomorrow with our top 10 movies of the year. Thanks very much, guys.